in this world and thinking about how to bring out your message. The community is here for you to support you in unfolding what is within you, to bring out your unique ways of expressing what is in you through words, written or spoken. So today, sit back and listen and find different ways this beautiful woman, Stephanie Ritz, who's joining me on the Sacred Expression Show, how she can nudge you a little bit to bring it out so you can just come out of the soil and unfold. Hello everyone, this is Meilin Ehlke. Welcome to the Sacred Expression Show, all the way from sunny, finally sunny, summery Bavaria. And I welcome, and I'm honored to welcome Stephanie Ritz, my friend, mentor, supporter, my family, and many, many things more. Thank you for speaking with me and to my audience. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Meilin. Yeah, when you say family, I think it's quite true. You know, we became an internet community and turned into family for each other. And it's not always blood, but those that you find in life that call to you. So
yeah, you're right. Everyone, Stephanie and I met 4 years ago on a video challenge, 30-day video challenge, with 450 something people started, and we were 2 people of the 33 at the end that made it all the way through, getting up sometimes in the middle of the night, finishing a video and publishing it. And in that group, by observing each other, commenting very honestly and in a very gentle, uplifting way, even because there were moments some of us were very sad or angry or went through very fascinating things in life that were hard for us to do alone. And there was suddenly this international community that came together to spin together and create this family, and we're still together. And we had the idea of getting together for a 5-year reunion next year. See, that can come out when we decide in a way to act upon our own thoughts and be courageous and say, yes, I'm just gonna do it. I don't know how it's gonna unfold, what it's gonna bring, but by acting, wonders appear.
When you spend 30 days watching other people's videos that were somewhere 2 minutes, 5 minutes, some of them were even 10 minutes long, you get to know the person. And because it was inside of a private community or a closed community, we all felt safe to really be ourselves. I think for a lot of us, it was our first experience online or first time participating in something of that nature. For me, I had only been online a couple of months. It was the very first thing that I did to say, okay, let's find community. And there you were from Germany, and there I was in Wisconsin, in the same place that your father was from. I mean, what a small world to be in. I came in because my very first thing, I wanted to do video, and I was creating these video interviews about how you were finding your voice, how you had taken your ideas and shaped them into the actions, which is what you were giving to the world now. And so coming into this group where everyone else was getting comfortable on video was kind of perfect, and there you were.
Yeah, and you interviewed me. You were the first person to interview me ever. And then on video, and I said, oh, I was courageous, I'm just gonna do it. I said, oh, I'll do it, I'm here, hello. And the title fits so beautifully. because at that time, yes, I started exploring how the world is reacting to my gifts, my spiritual metaphysical gifts, uh, my words, my channeling and my healing. So I didn't know really how to bring it together. I just started, not knowing that it went so personally then, right? And so many were really creative and fun, and to this invitation, how we all started like a little bit of shy and speaking quietly, telling a little bit, and then when the first 2 or 3 then did something more creative, or then you wanted to do something also creative, so you saw that, or I saw that there was room for these things. I think that one day it rained. I love to do mine outside. And when it rained, and I played singing in the rain, played with the umbrella. So it got also our creative juices flowing. And so we had opportunities, right, Stephanie, to bring out and voice through different facets what we wanted to speak about. If we knew at that time what it was. We really were exploring.
Yeah, there was an article that the woman who hosted it wrote, and it was about the freedom to be you. And I think that more than anything else is what we found, was the freedom to be ourselves, in however goofy or not so goofy. But you're absolutely right. Like one woman made an outtake video, and so then I made an outtake video, and one night you were playing with hats and someone else was playing, and we just had a great time just being. I think it was that level of playfulness that we have as children, that we sometimes have with our children or in our closest relationships. So as a caregiver for my grandma, there were definitely things, we had our own language, and we would be playful and we'd laugh at things that no one else understood what we were saying, but we got it. There's, occasionally one of the jokes was she, for a while, kept forgetting or switching fork in a comb. And so it's something that could have been sad, but like I'd find her hairbrush in the fridge. And so it became a joke later as she healed and could look back at those first few months that were difficult before she had rebuilt the processes in her brain. And she's like, yeah, do you want a fork with that while she's getting ready or doing her makeup, or, you want to brush with your meal kind of thing. And we'd play with it, and it would be fun, but it's the type of thing that if you weren't there or didn't see it, it would almost feel like you're not supposed to. As adults in business, you're just supposed to show up. But if we want to know who you are, the real you, I mean, what you're offering, great. But there are so many other people that also offer shamanic sound healing, or offer copywriting services, or offer whatever. But what we want is the person that we want to spend the time with while we do these things that we're also looking to receive. And they have to go hand in hand. They really can't be separate. I know you and I felt this connection rather instantly in this video challenge. There's you and a couple other people that within 1 or 2 videos, and instantly, really, it was like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
we found each other, right? And that's something that I just trust is going to happen. But I had no clue that I was going online and about to meet someone who, would be part of my life for the next 4 years. And when I say someone, there's like 25 of us that are looking to get together for this reunion. It's not just one. It's truly a community, like you said.
Yeah, and while you were speaking, we all went and started because we wanted to find a new way of expressing ourselves, right? We knew we most of us had careers, some mothers, all genders and social levels and age groups, right? But we all knew we had something in common. We wanted to find our way, a way that felt fun, inspiring, yeah? But often we have this vision, but it's sometimes hard to get there. So living through some experiences moves us closer to it. Yeah, so it is like you can't suddenly be the most happiest and creative person overnight, but you feel it is within you, it's slumbering within you. Yeah, or sometimes we've packed ourselves close and we've tightened up, and then it's slowly time to take away those onion peels, some people say, right? To take those peels and to have little explosions and experience of this. Also, that's not so bad. I can try this again. So that gave often, the challenge gave me often this experience. And also then, not just to have my experiences, also what the experience was when I wrote a comment, or if the video was in response to another video. And I think that was a fascinating way of learning more about myself, and then ultimately it's also learning about others, and finding a way that is really me, so nudging myself out. And I think you had a similar experience like that, and then on top of it, you teach most of this very beautifully now to all of your clients at your retreats, or now in your event in November. Everyone, I'll be at her event.
Yeah,
Let's speak about it.
You're going to be speaking as well as teaching at the storytelling conference. I think a lot of what you're saying really, it hits home deeply and personally for me from that group, where there were so many layers put on me and so many things that I had to peel off before I could really present myself. So going into it, so my first videos were not good. They were very dry, very like, oh my gosh, I'm talking at a camera. But in that process, I think a lot of it was warming up purely to speaking to a machine. I've been on stages. I grew up in storytelling competition. So being on stages and presenting set pieces and how to build the entire experience design with words. So how are you weaving your words together, as well as then how are you presenting it to the person on the other side? That's almost exactly what video is. So finding who I was, finding the comfort of all the knowledge and experience that I had in me. It had just been, years of caregiving. I'd stepped out of being a teacher, so I wasn't doing leadership training. I wasn't in front of people nonstop. I had years of just working as a ghostwriter and only working with 1 or 2 people a year, sometimes 3, and then being with my grandma. And then I got really ill, lost my immune system, and ended up kind of bedridden. And that's what pushed me to finally move online, let alone everything else that was going in my life. But it was really, I had no choice but to find another community, because I was not thriving in the situation I had created for myself. It's really great to have that support, as well as then to be able to know me as well, and then to step up and help others to be able to do that same thing. So when I found the courage, I asked to get on stage and tell my story. I was given a 10-minute time space and not allowed to make a pitch. No offers, no asks, just go up and tell a story. And it did really well for me, as well as for the woman whose stage I was speaking on. And so then I did it again and again, and now, I was asked to help others. How do you just tell a story that lets people know who you are, how you became an expert at what you're doing, and why the world should care? I think for holistic professionals, or specifically for you, that's one of the pieces that we're constantly remembering, is that we have to care. We have to care for ourselves as well as for others and for this world. It's really not an option. And how to do that, and how you do that through nature and beauty and healing is kind of magical, to be honest.
Yeah, you say that so beautifully. It is, when we met, I didn't even have a radio show yet. I didn't have this show. It was, I had so many experiences in my life. I've been in so many countries and met people, and also I don't know, shamanism for animals or for people, or with the Koreans, the yoga, nature, the painting. It was so much, but how am I able to bring it together? And that is something very beautifully I learned from you. You always ask me, tell the story or observe what you normally always speak about. Yeah? Certain things I speak over and over about, and to then become aware of it and write it down and then put it together. You have a beautiful ear. For me, Stephanie can write while I speak. And you have a way for your clients to invite them to remember, and then you ask them what is behind, and you ask me what's behind. I do it automatically when I do healing. When I meet people, I say, what's behind them, where does it really come from, what's the source. So then it's easy. But if I now have to look at my overall life of what I'm creating or how I function, how I work, it became much more difficult for me, where I even pulled back. And then it's very beautiful to have, as we said at the beginning, community. I was able to ask questions too, that had observed me, also had me seen grow, and to look backwards, what things occurred every few years, because we have a certain rhythm in our life, and you also have a rhythm, your style, and often we don't really are aware of it. It's so in tune, it is so easy to do that we don't even give it any importance. And those are exactly the things we need to give importance to, because those are really the stories others are interested in. And when we talk about stories, it's not like a Brüder Grimm story. No, they're also very interesting because they talk about the traditions and legends that mostly have truth to them from somewhere. And so it is also like ours. The story is really experiences. If I see it correctly, Stephanie, it is like putting all the experience into a beautiful gift box, where you put nice wrapping and with a lot of love, and then you have the bow. So everything that when the person who you gift that gift to, when they start pulling up, open the string, opening the box, looking into, and maybe lifting the tissue paper here and there, right? This is also already an invitation or an act, or impeccable act of gift giving. And how you do your story, and I have observed you, how beautifully you invite others to give more, to put a little bit more tissue in. So this experience for the receiver, the person who receives the gift, is even more fascinating. And that you have that in the way how you help us get the words out that are unique and styled to us.
Yeah, I think what you say, there's two different things, but one of them is that truly our words are a gift of invitation for someone to have an experience. Even if it's an information product, or it's time with you, or coaching, or healing, or anything, each one of those pieces is an experience, and every step forward and every step that you came from brought you from one experience into another. I very much look at storytelling almost as a choose your own adventure. I love what you were sharing about of looking at the source, and going below and going beyond what is really being said. I think one of the things that is the hardest as business owners, as just trying to communicate in this world of loud noise, is we do want to know where you've been, as well as then what's going to come later. So if you talk about it from an education standpoint, you're talking about what's happening before, what's happening during, what's happening after. But the reality is that for me, this comes much more from practices that I was taught growing up, really immersed, surrounded by different Native American tribes in Wisconsin, and being in an education field and studying this. And what I was taught was to anything that I'm going to bring into the world, to look at it from 7 generations. So where I'm the middle, I absolutely know my mom and my grandma, and I was grateful enough to know my great-grandma. There's not much I remember, but she could give you a bear hug that was so strong, even though she'd like walk around with a walker, and even at 90-some years old was crocheting lap blankets for the old people and, the old home, even though she was one of them. So there's little things that I know and I can remember, and pieces of wisdom, like 90 years old and still, helping the old folks, because that's what was important to her. And then I can also look forward at, while I don't have children, but I could, and then their children and great-grandchildren. It's not unheard of in society to actually know these generations in your life. And if we forget the knowledge that we came with and ignore the future that we're building, then it becomes unsustainable. And so when you're looking at telling a story that is supportive of what was and what will be, it really changes how you're going to choose to share that information with the world. And continually, that's where those stories below, and how did you get here? How did you become this person? Well, like my mom was a leader who trained leaders. That was her role. My father's mother was a world leader, who was a diplomat for the government. Mm-hmm. So I grew up being taught to be a leader, being put into leadership training for most of my life. Not surprising, here I am training others, working with other leaders, training you on how to tell the best story of who you are and how you became the leader that you really are today. It's quite, to me, it's just what is so normal, and for you, what your normal is very different. And I love seeing it come to life for you, and seeing those stories unfold.
Yeah, the stories. For me, stories, every moment, and I'm someone who really loves to live in the moment. So sometimes stories become unimportant, right? But stories also help us to look backwards and to build up into the future, to create new intentions, or to become observant, and they hold nuggets. Or your stories, when I visited you in Santa Monica, was 2 years ago, when you finally moved there, and the universe brought us together, and we'll see each other soon in the summer. There were the story of a plate you had from your mother, and a stone. Everyone, I got so fascinated about the object. I felt the energy of the object. I had to photograph it. So if you look on my Sacred Expression Show image, there is the plate of Stephanie's mother that she found, because I was so in tune to her vibration, and another image of a stone of agate, a really old piece of coral. I think even she had found an ancient one. So you see, there is so much more, and I'm so happy that Stephanie sat down while I was visiting her and told me a little bit about her mother. Because there was information that had to come from her mom to me, to come in a way to you now. Yeah? And this is the spinning. And if we keep quiet, and many of us are trained by our society, now I'm almost 50, or parents, right? They were trained in fear silenced them. And now it is time to step out of that fear, so we don't silence ourselves anymore. So I see it in the younger generation, they don't silence themselves anymore. The youngers in the 20s. And I'm so happy that is happening. So, and you have a way, if we're uncomfortable, because we still have that within us, or our environment, our surrounding, still has this expectation of us how we have to function and how silent to be, what stories not to tell, because stories is nice of experiences, but they're very stories of experience that want to be hushed, right, or suppressed. And if I look at it also as a healer, when those can come out and are in a way set free, that is when we can expand and move into our grandness. Because at the end, when I'm not afraid of anything, I'm free. That's the moment when I'm free. That's the moment we can become peaceful within inside. Yeah, because we don't need anyone to tell us how wonderful we are or how not good we are. So that plays a role. These different kinds of stories, but the stories voicing, and I love the title, you know, voice your passion, and you supporting, giving people their voice again, you know, we're so closed and tightened, and we sometimes pull together by ourselves, not so we wouldn't speak, right? To hide, because we experience so much pain the moment we did speak a piece of truth. And then to speak that, because what is that? In the moment I speak my truth, or Stephanie, you speak your truth, or the viewer, you speak your truth, we inspire others to speak theirs. Right? And you said, what is the long run? What is the long term? For what do I speak now? It is to remember what has been. The more I hear others speak, I get a better history. My vision gets broader. It's easier to live in the moment and to create beauty for the future.
I think there's a big piece of healing as well, though, by looking at those stories, by looking at where you have been long after the experience, where you can really have perspective of what was happening in that space, is one of the greatest things that allows us to bring ourselves forward even stronger. So when you are looking at a story of, well, when I was a kid and my brother and I got into a fight, or whatever that situation was, you can now look at it as an adult and say, well, you know, maybe it's because we were put into this situation and there was this happening and that happening, or whatever it might be. When I look at some of my stories, I've spent a lot of time and energy hiding who I am from the world. Now, some of it is because of just choices that I've personally made, either to protect family. Some of them are choices that I've made because of my family's choices and how they've impacted me. But I'm still, I mean, this is what I teach every day, and yet I'm still just starting to reveal some of my pen names, some of the work that I've been doing, because I know it becomes really controversial. I grew up in a really diverse setting, and I was in a diversity club and approached to be to create a gay-straight alliance. What I didn't know, I just said yes because I was in theater. I was tired of seeing my friends bullied, creating a safe space for them. Sure, I'll help. We can make this happen. And we did it with a book launch. We got a publisher to donate cases of this collection of short stories, and we glued in pay it forward. Read it, pay it forward, or get it into your school library. And we sent them through the nation. What we didn't know at the time was that it was one of the first 10 gay-straight alliances in America, and that what we were doing was sparking an entire movement of support of whatever your choices in life might be, specifically in that realm, which it's now quite standard in most high schools to have some sort of support club for the LBGT crew, and it has all of its initials and acronyms. But that was, I didn't really talk about it publicly until just a year or so ago, and yet that was back when I was in high school, and it's something that I feel very strongly about, that it doesn't matter, that we all belong in this space, and everyone deserves a safe space to show up. It's, us having that safe space in the Facebook group to be there for each other. But still, revealing those stories then allows others to be like, oh, you really did take a stand, and I see how by doing something now can really change the world.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what we're doing. We recognize that if we continue on the path that we're going, the world is going to implode or explode, and we're going to be the cause of it. So until something changes in the way that we're treating each other and treating the planet, we're in trouble. And so we have to take that time to make the change now. And how we can do it is, through this love and healing space. It doesn't have to be pushing it. It doesn't have to be extreme. It can be through pure love, right?
Yes. And again comes an experience where I observed you when you were unfolding parts of you, the reaction of people. So everyone, the more touching or vulnerable, I don't know if that's the right word, but the more difficult it is for something to real that is very dear to us, we draw people in. They're right there. Too much society is reflected of not caring, and it's not true. I believe it's not true. If we give people the opportunity to get to know us, or we take the moment to try to get to know another person. And the fastest way, I believe, is if we tell a little bit about ourselves. A little enough. And even though if maybe they think, but then maybe another time they speak about it, but something happens and it goes like quick, and then something can unravel. And it is time to take this moment, because of all what you spoke about. Yeah, this earth is very precious, and people are very, very precious, and our words are sacred, and each word has meaning, and many of our words in different languages bring a very comforting feeling. So choose words well. Yeah. Some of our cultures are lucky, they speak still the ancient sacred languages. Hawaiian is such a beautiful language, right? In German we're discovering again many of our old dialects on vocabulary, and right, moving through history, how we view them when someone speaks their dialect. We were very finger pointing for many years, decades, and so that is switching, because again, when our languages are taken away, mostly by people that want to rule over us, and but I can take the Romans, if I speak about the German cultures, they took away many languages of many cultures. Because then we go back and feel. So it's time now to speak again our language. We're on the way of finding our language, our vowels, our sounds. So that's another invitation. So not just the big story, but what is the story of each single word we choose when we write, when we speak. Yeah? What do we take? Where does it come from? To take that time to bring and embrace, we love, so you said so beautifully, people, with our sounds.
I think it's something you and I both get called on in a very good way. That people say that poetry just comes off of our tongues, that the way that we naturally structure our words creates an experience that someone else wants to have. I'm not surprised at all that where we met, and you were going to trade shows, people were very warm to you, and it was great response, but that what you wanted was to extend your reach. And now you have multiple programs where you can spread your words. And it was really well received really quickly. It was almost overnight to see that growth for you. Like, oh, look, I have a full community that was handed to me because it was cultivated to need exactly what I have to deliver. And I know and trust that when I show up and I'm going to do what I am an expert at, and you trust that it's always going to come through, and it does. You don't question that piece. You're not sitting with, am I worthy enough to be on this radio show? Are they actually going to care about what I'm saying? You trust that you're going to be able to, who's there is there to receive, and that you will be able to connect into that and give. And that it almost becomes this constant play of energy back and forth. But you're not questioning it, yet we still have to find times to give ourselves the permission to step up, to be in that space. And that's a level of that rediscovering. So even though I've told certain stories over and over again, saying it to a different person, to a different audience, is always going to raise something slightly different in me. And I have to remember that not everyone knows this about me. So if I'm not going to share with you who I am, where I've been, then how are you ever going to know, right? Mm-hmm. Unless we take that time. And people are magnetized to your words because, one, there's that healing level, but that you make it easy for us to listen as well.
Thank you.
And it's true, though. I find myself tuning into your program somewhat often. Just to be on and to absorb and to see what's going to come forward. When we started our work together, you were really wary and nervous about certain words and how it would be accepted, specifically the word shaman. And I call you shaman, and I've definitely pushed that. And you're like, who, me? And I'm like, yes, you, right? And so, we talk about the layers of revealing ourselves. And we went through this video challenge, 30 days of me showing up where I couldn't do this because I was healing from a cracked rib. So I always kept my arms tucked to my side and no one knew what was going on. Well, after I'd healed from the cracked rib, which was actually a gift, not really a gift, from a man that I was dating and in a really unsafe situation. But when I found the strength to leave, I reached out to my community to say, one, I'm sorry for lying. Two, I really need your support right now, even if it's just because no one knows and you're my community. I reached out to them, I think possibly before I told my brother and sister what was going on, because they were part of the situation differently. My siblings, had been in our house, had been through the experiences, but that online community, Meilin and those, you're my family in a different way and removed from the situation. And, we talk about these connections that it's amazing to see show up, but Meilin gifted me a painting after that shows up, and it looks like all of these celestial pops, which I have a CD from my mom that talks about celestial soda pops, and that's what I put on repeat. I will listen to that hour-long meditation CD 3, 4, 5 times while I'm in a developmental phase, no words. And that's exactly what Meilin manifested to send me and arrived when I left Wisconsin and began my life in California. And I was greeted with this beautiful, gorgeous painting from Meilin that was completely tied in to my life and into these long, long-held stories with my mom and just this deep connection that we had. How she knew that is because I call her shaman, right?
I remember that. I said that's the first time. It was such a different way to paint. That's why am I painting? I never paint this way. And so delicate. Yeah, I'm a more colorful person and thick color. And it was so fine. Like I had to really be careful of how thin the pigment, the water plant pigment was in the water and how it would color that paper. I remember that. It was a beautiful experience for both of us. And I had to also go first through through some um, rituals to have those experiences to be able to hand it forward and to paint it. So it was a really fascinating connection, but that's everything, right? It goes and it comes up and goes down, and then it takes time. We have to sit back and wait, and then we can move forward and rush on to things, because then it's really easy. And that's to wait and to write. Probably, Stephanie, for you it is the same thing. You don't write every single day. When the inspiration hit, when you're in the right space, you write, then it just pours out, right? And other days to sit back and do other things, do the creative things, or just relax with some tea. Yeah, and I think to live the rhythm, how do we get to those beautiful ways of writing and storytelling? Waiting for the right moment. We don't have to push through things. Yeah, because it's our environment that has to adapt as well. Even when we move, yeah, so that it is about, I believe it's about moving with ease, right? We do not need anymore this strong strength and this push through anymore. Sometimes, yes, we move really quick because it's easy, and you get a rhythm, and it's fun, and you can wave while you really run down between the trees. And then other times to stroll and ride this way.
Yeah, it makes me think of the first time we met in person, which was before I actually lived in Los Angeles, but I was here visiting. I was actually just starting to think about moving here, was apartment shopping, and so I drove to California. And we had plans to get together one evening, but I had someone else. I had spoken from this woman's stage, and then she was getting ready for the next event, and she asked me to stay with her instead of coming to meet you, to rewrite her entire sales page, to like reshape the curriculum into an easier to digest format. And while there was a part of me that was really disappointed to not get to come spend time with you, when you arrived and we talked, you said, I'm jet lagged and I just want to go to bed, so this is actually better. So stay where you're at, do your thing, and we'll get to see each other tomorrow morning. And that woman and I, even though we didn't get together until like 6 o'clock at night, we probably worked for solid 8 hours, fell asleep, the sun came up, and I got into the car to go meet Meilin, and we had this beautiful breakfast. We just walked down the street until we found some place. When I lived here, moved to Santa Monica, totally different. We were in Beverly Hills then. And the first place that I take Meilin to is the exact same restaurant that we happened to have found. And I didn't remember, I didn't even realize it was, a different time, different place. But the unique thing is that we listen to those messages, even if we don't necessarily understand why this is happening or what's coming into our life, that we can hear it and we can appreciate it when it happens. And because I stayed, we had our really relaxed breakfast before I was getting in the car, driving back up to the Northern Redwoods. But at the same time, that work that we did was enough for others to be able, they watched the change of her website and the sales page and the program and said, wait, that was you? That's what happened there? I want to work with you, and I want to work with you too. And so had I not listened, and had you not, listened to you and said, because there's me as a caring person who had a commitment to spend the time with you, that there's always that level of guilt. But when you just let it unfold as it's being handed to you, it's a really beautiful opportunity. And then the synchronicities are kind of hard to
Yeah, this is when magic happens, and there's so many things we can't fathom in the moment. And and when we let unfold what wants to unfold in the moment, and everyone, you can feel it. You feel expanded, then it's the right thing to do. And if you feel like you're contracting or pulling together yourself, then it's not the right thing to do. We had a beautiful conversation. It was a beautiful morning. And she could drive up to the redwoods. And Stephanie, I would love for you to speak about the redwoods where you found really, where you recuperated, or where you, for me, I see it this way, you soaked in the wisdom. You have beautiful tree teachers that support you. But at the same time, now there is where you bring out others, other people's messages out through the book. You hold now a retreat in a beautiful spot up in the redwoods. Speak a little bit about that to everyone, because I know also one is coming up in September. So everyone, hold up your ears.
So when I had finished my first book project, which was my stepdad's book project, went back to caring for my grandma, and finished my degree, and then landed another writing project that they flew me to the redwoods. And so I started flying to the redwoods every 3 months or so until I got ill, until my grandma passed, and that's when I moved online. So I spent 2 years, made like 8-10 trips out to California, and loved it here. I didn't always make it into the redwoods. Sometimes I was writing in Santa Rosa or in Oakland, but that first book project was in the redwoods.
Mm-hmm.
And it was magical. And so when I really started admitting to where I was in life, that man that I was separating from, he knew I was moving to California before I did. He knew that what was holding me to Wisconsin was my grandma and being in a relationship, but without those ties, I was going to leave. And so while it wasn't a surprise to him, it surprised me that he already knew. And I wanted to go to the giant 3,000-year-old trees. And I also wanted to come back to the ocean. I'd lived in New Jersey, worked in Manhattan, so I'd been at the ocean back in Wisconsin, and it was the ocean that I craved, but it was really being in the trees. And one of the women that we met in that 30-day video challenge actually lived in the city where the ocean met the trees, in Humboldt County. So there's a university, good strong music, amazing food, and I can walk, I can take a 5-minute drive and be inside the ancient redwoods, or a 5-minute drive and be ocean side, and it was right there. So I moved there for a year of self-care, a year of healing, because coming out of caring for everyone else, I just really needed to learn how to be there for myself again. And so I moved to the redwoods. Now, since the minute I went online into this video program, people from the video challenge have been asking me to run writing retreats. And I had been coming to the redwoods as a writer, and then moved to the redwoods, and so I wanted to design a retreat to bring others to one of the main wonders of the world, really. Like these trees are the tallest thing in the world. Humboldt has the cleanest air in the nation, and so can you imagine sitting under a tree that has been there for 3,000 years old, and people have been traveling to and sitting under these same trees for ancient wisdom? And in my time in healing there, I spent a lot of time studying hikers' journals, trying to just find some of the wonders of the space and exploring nonstop. And one of the things that I found was an albino redwood tree. So just as people or animals can be albino, so can trees. And this tree can't absorb anything from the sun. It can't absorb nutrients through its branches. Instead, it lives in symbiosis with another tree and is absorbing through the root system of the other tree and is pure white. And the tree that I found is actually called the ghost tree. So I had been a ghost writer. I have lots of ghosts in my closet that I'm still revealing. I just put out a big revealing post a couple of days ago where I opened up publicly about one of my pen names. And so communing with this tree and finding it, and after getting there, it turns out not a single person none of my friends, no one had ever been able to find one of these trees, and yet I was led straight to it in a really simple space. So bringing people into this magical space, this really clearing, healing energy has been really important to me. I went on my first retreat, came home in the redwoods and wrote a 100-page outline of everything that I know to be true and that I want to bring forward. Now, 2.5, 3 years later, almost all of it has been published into programs, card decks, masterminds, products. It's all come to life, but it's taken a long time. And a lot of that is truly from immersing myself in these trees, in this wisdom, where you can feel your roots growing deeper, and at the same time your branches stretching out, like in this huge growth phase where you're being pulled both ways, and it's delicious, and you just want more of it when you're there, right? It's not comfortable at all to be stretched by the giants. So.
No. You know, for me, it's always it's what are we? We embody. We walk on this earth. We also connected to our source in the cosmos, right? And we bring it together, and then we send it out, and these energies come together, and we create something within us, and to walk and bring it out into the world. And the best teachers for that are embodying our truth and expressing then also our wisdom, our knowledge, our trees. And then a magical teacher is your ghost, redwood. Wow, you know, this is and being attracted, or in a way he called you and pulled you into his circle, and whatever emanates out through him to you, and then you emanated into the world, into your students and clients, and whatever then they write. I mean, it's unending. It goes beyond where we can imagine at the moment. Beautiful.
I knew that I wanted to bring writers there, but finding a place to write was the most interesting piece of designing that experience. Mm-hmm. Where we're doing retreat this year, and it actually makes me think of you. We're going to this private estate, so right at the end of the avenue at the Giants, the south gate of it, is the Benbow Inn. It's like a historic, big, fancy place in the middle of nowhere in the redwoods. And then around the corner from it is Julia Morgan built her private estate. So she's the woman who's one of the first self-made female millionaires in the U.S., and she designed the Hearst Castle. So she's a really famous architect, one of the first female famous architects, as mm-hmm. well as then being a native Californian. And so she built a house around the corner from the Benbow Inn, which is all right at the Avenue of the Giants. And that magical tree is near the south end of the Giants, which goes on. It can take an hour or longer to just drive through the Ave. But to have it all right there and everything to show up, a retreat place, an overflow, the kitchen, everything's just perfect. So I've run retreats at a different location a couple of times, but this is where I do all of my private retreats, as well as then doing the group retreats into Julia Morgan's, and to be able to go back a couple of times a year and bring people into this space where you can just allow those 100 pages to flow for yourself. Like, that's the magic of going there, of just turning off the noise of life for a minute and tuning into everything that was before you. As you know, it's when I talk about what was before and what will be after, think about those trees. They've been around for 3,000 years. It's possible they'll be around for another 3,000 more. So big you can drive a VW bus through the center of them. But it's true. Like, these things that's long beyond the 3 generations that'll live after you. Right? And so just imagine what that tree has seen and the wisdom that it could impart, and to let that pour through you, as well as then to raise the ancestral knowledge or the knowledge that has been given to you that might not even be of this body, right? To just let it come forward is one of those pieces that I live for every year. I cannot wait to go back and try to design more and more ways to go. I've already been up there 2 or 3 times this year. So.
See, one day I'll be able, it will fit in with my spiraling to experience that with you. Because when something in life happens, when there is no resistance, when it just gets materialized, it's like we're being pushed. Or drawn. We need no energy, zip, nada. And then these things happen, or for you now, this place of the retreats, and even the retreats, how they feel and what fascinating people appear. This is what to go with, and then what else to expect, and it can flow very easily for people. So I'm so thankful that you listen to yourself and that you do share all of your stories, that you support the world in voicing their passion, and you do so much more. This is just a little bit of what you invite people to unfold once they get to know you. So everyone, if you have a moment, to check her out on her website at stephanieritz.com or Steph Ritz. I get confused because I saw.
They both work. Yeah.
Super. And I'm gonna post everything everywhere for you to see and to get to meet her. Stephanie, it's important for people, I think, also to meet you, to feel your vibration. And I'm very, very happy that you took time and a moment to speak to us, to speak with me, to play, and to put a new spin onto writing and onto our spoken word. So thank you very much, Stephanie, for being on the Sacred Expression Show.
Thank you, Meilin. And yes, please come experience both of us in person in Los Angeles this November.
Right. Genau, November, first weekend in November, everyone. I can't wait. It'll be fun. I'll even draw something. I know I'll bring some paintings, because all of it has to be, I feel it already, the vibration, and it's a gorgeous place. It's a round setting, and in circles, because in circles, wisdom, that it gets explored, gets expressed in a circle, right? And then it can pulse out into the world. So it's going to be fun. So thank you, and goodbye, everyone.